Rosie is her name. All the day long, whether rain or shine, she's a part of the assembly line. She's making history, working for victory. Rosie, the riveter, keeps a sharp lookout for sabotage, sitting up there on the fuselage. That little frail can do more than a male can do. Rosie, the riveter. Rosie's got a boyfriend, Charlie. Charlie, he's a Marine. Rosie is protecting Charlie, working overtime on the riveting machine. When they gave her a production E, she was as proud as a girl could be. There's something true about red, white, and blue about Rosie. The riveter. Thank you. If you were living in the 1940s, you might know that song. You would hear it on the radio. I'm so grateful to have had Raya come before me because she stands for everything that Cain worked for. And so I'm caught in the middle between the two generations, which is lovely. Too young to have been a Rosie. Still got a little pep in me to fight like this one. But for 30 years, I've had the pleasure of telling the story of Rosie the Riveter and being a reenactor. But I'd really just rather you think of me as a Rosie storyteller. You heard that Rosie embodied a lot of different women from a lot of different places, from a lot of different backgrounds, doing a lot of different jobs. And let's face it, they weren't all riveting. Some were mechanics, some were crane operators, some were making buses, some were driving buses, some were making ships. Some of them were cowgirls instead of cowboys. And of course, lumberjacks became lumberjills. So the doors were opened and women were coming into work, and yes, they faced a variety of challenges. So what I would like to do now is tell you the story of several of those women. And thanks for telling one of Phyllis earlier. These are actual women who worked during the war, and these are their stories that I just get the joy of sharing with you. Winona Espinoza, riveter and bus driver. In June of 1942, I left my home in Grand Junction, Colorado, and moved out to San Diego to live with my brother-in-law and my sister. I was just 19, and I had never left Colorado before, but my boyfriend was stationed in Washington State, and in my mind, San Diego sounded closer to Washington than Colorado did. I thought this would give me a chance to see him. So I moved out to San Diego, and I immediately took a job at Roar Aircraft. Now, I gotta tell you, I knew nothing about this kind of work. But they put us through training courses where they taught us girls how to do precision drilling, how to use a rivet. I was excited. I wanted to do the work. I loved the challenge in getting into the job. At Roar, I worked riveting the boom doors on P-38s. They're these long, huge doors that had 3 or 4 thicknesses of skin. Each piece had to be countersunk by hand, and all the rivets had to pass inspection, so you had to be good. I loved the work, but I hated the dress. First of all, they'd make us girls wear hairnets. We couldn't stand them, so we'd leave our bangs sticking out a little bit, and the female guards would come along and make us stuff them back in. Then we wore slacks. You call them pants nowadays, but back then we called them slacks, and we never wore them before the war. And finally, we had to wear these ugly headscarves. Well, I worked at Roar for about a year, and then quit my job to get married. But I took a second job. You see, I was riding on a bus one day, and there was a poster of Uncle Sam that said, "I need you." So I went right into that bus station and applied. I got a job with the San Diego Transit Department, driving buses. I just got my license. and I had never driven anything like a bus before. But that's what the war did for us girls. It opened up an opportunity to do jobs we would have never had a chance at. You know what? I was driving a bus the day the war ended. I let everybody ride free that day. I'm Winona Espinosa, riveter and bus driver.